I also saw a lot of videos of UFOs. I mean, what the fuck has been going on with that shit? These niggas are here. These UFOs keep coming to Earth, and it made me think of an idea for a movie. It sounds dumb, but hear me out. In my movie idea, we find out that these aliens are originally from Earth. That they're from an ancient civilization that achieved interstellar travel and left the Earth thousands of years ago. Some other planet they go to, and things go terrible for them in the other planet. So they come back to Earth and decide that they want to claim the Earth for their very own. It's a pretty good plot line, huh? I call it Space Jews.
Now, the leaders of our world, and I know that will be strange to many people who aren't familiar with the information, have a descendancy from the reptilians who colonized Lemuria, then created the civilization in Sumeria, became the Chaldeans, the Mesopotamians, the Babylonians, and Khazars, and so on, until they went into Western Europe and everywhere else in the world. And they reported in those days to their reptilian leaders.
So this is something I feel like, if I was the president, and it's unlikely that that is ever going to happen.
You never know.
If I was the president...
It was unlikely that I was going to be president.
The moment I was inaugurated, my hand it'd still be hot from touching the Bible, and I would immediately race to wherever they have the files about Area 51 and the UFOs, and I go through everything to find out what happened.
Right.
Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. Because that's the first thing that you would do.
The
aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us. The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us. The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Now, you know, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, you know, that's what we're instructed to say.
All right.
However, since the last 100 or so years, there has been a decision within the leadership of the Illuminati to create their own empire with the Earth as its headquarters, to create and access technology both from here and elsewhere, so that they can create a new galactic empire with themselves as the head and the Earth as the headquarters, and fan out into the known universe and other universes. And that is the ultimate goal of the Illuminati. That's why they have created the particle beam accelerators at CERN and Fermi Labs, and building a third one soon in Japan, which is actually surprising to me. And of course, the cover story for these things is that they're looking for the God particle. But everything is a God particle. Everything that exists is a God particle. That's just a cover story. They're trying to collapse other parallel universes into this one, where the Illuminati and the control systems have been successful in their agenda. And so we are seeing a lot of anomalies in time and space because of this.
Anyway, I want to talk about Israel a little bit because I found this a bit interesting. You know, we spoke about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, how he's arrogant, he's an Israeli version of Trump, and his wife being indicted for misappropriation of government funds for lavish parties and furniture, etc. Well, they also have an interesting son, Yair Netanyahu, the son of the Prime Minister, who put an anti-Semitic image on his Facebook page to make fun of Jewish people, particularly, and I have to say, I admit I agree with him on this one, he made fun of the billionaire George Soros, the Hungarian Jew billionaire who lives in the United States. Now, what I found very interesting is that the news said that George Soros is a philanthropist who supports democratic movements and Human Rights Watch. Really? And I'm a big black woman, you know, who was a lesbian.
And head of NCAA.
Yeah.
Pete.
He is... he destroys countries, destroys financial institutions, he manipulates people. He's behind the Antifa movement in the United States and in Europe. He is not a philanthropist. He's an old, creepy something, which I won't even say here. But what I found very interesting is that the picture shows George Soros being manipulated by a gigantic reptilian lizard and then using people as puppets.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes, and so the picture refers to a neo-Nazi caricature showing that Jews are descendants of lizard people. Now, why would Benjamin Netanyahu's son put such a thing on there? Well, this upset some Israeli leaders. For example, former Prime Minister Ehud Barak tweeted, "This is what the child hears at home. What is it, genetics or mental illness?" First of all, he's not a child. He's 26 years old. That's number one. Number two, I'm sure he hears a lot outside of the home rather than in it.
And plus he sees it.
And he may not be a pleasant person, but he's not mentally ill. I think he's just very angry. But what made the Israelis even more angry is that Netanyahu's son's post was liked by David Duke, the former head of the Ku Klux Klan. So they said, how could an Israeli person whose father is a prime minister have a post that is liked by the Ku Klux Klan? Mm-hmm. You know why? I told you people, the Fourth Reich and Israel are in allegiance, and I told you this.
And it's all part of the show, which we discussed in detail at our class last week.
And by the way, I don't even think you know, I sent a communication to Israeli government telling them what I thought of some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. No, of course they don't answer me. Anyway, I found that was interesting.
Next week with conspiracy theorist David Icke live in studio. The British former soccer player was set to make his 11th visit to Australia to do a speaking tour. You guys have heard of him, right?
Exactly. Perhaps not everybody has. It's been suggested. He's been accused of having some really anti-Semitic views, some strange sci-fi implications with reptiles on Earth.
Well, he was supposed to come to Australia, but late yesterday he had his visa cancelled. It's believed he's been banned from entering our country because of claims he is anti-Semitic and is a Holocaust denier. David Icke joins us now live from Los Angeles for this TV exclusive. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I wish I was with you.
Now, I guess the first things first, let's clear it up. Are you anti-Semitic and do you deny that the Holocaust took place?
No. You see, if you can't discredit someone by telling the truth and you tell lies, there was an absolute catastrophe for Jewish people in Nazi Germany. And one of the things that I'm seeking to do and have done for 30 years is to highlight the Nazi mentality and the tyrannical mentality that's taking away freedoms all over the world. So ironically, I'm the opposite of how I'm painted. There was a Labour Party candidate, I think his name's Josh Burns or something, who was quoted in the newspapers in the last week saying that I am campaigning for Holocaust denial to be taught in the schools.
So you believe the Holocaust did happen?
This is extraordinary.
So you believe the Holocaust
yes, of course,
did happen?
Of course a fantastic catastrophe happened for
But you
Jewish
aren't
people
saying,
in Nazi
you're not
Germany.
actually answering the question, did the Holocaust happen? You keep saying catastrophe. That's the difference to Holocaust. Just clear that up. Is it a catastrophe or a Holocaust?
Am I denying the Holocaust happened? No, I'm not. Clearly, there was an unspeakable happening there, and we should make sure it doesn't happen again. But let me point this out. What do Nazis do, what do Stalinists do whenever they get power? They want to shut down all exposure of themselves, all information that gives people a different view of them. They burn books, they shut down public meetings. Now, what on earth is a so-called democracy allowing itself to use methods of tyrannies to shut down debate? We have thousands of Australians from all walks of life, of every age. When I spoke in Sydney last time, the age range was 15 to 90, who have bought tickets to make a decision to hear what I've got to say and then come to conclusions on what they hear, who now are being denied that right. And what has happened to me, it's not about me. It's actually about what this says about the current nature of Australian society, which I'm finding all over the world. The debate is being shut down. You have to believe certain narratives. Two of the things, by the way, that the Minister for Immigration, David Coleman, put in the statement for me not being allowed in was my views on vaccines and global warming. But let's have a debate then. Instead of shutting it down, you must believe this or you're not coming in the country. And as David Coleman admitted quite openly in this document, I have come into Australia to speak 10 times since 1997. And he admits in the document there's never been a problem. So why now? Because as I become more and more popular and more people come to the events, there's a more and more incentive to stop what I'm saying being circulated so that only one narrative is ever heard. And that's called a tyranny.
Where do these accusations that you're anti-Semitic come from then? You've got famously controversial views, including that there are reptilian lizard people living amongst us and so forth. Where do these claims of anti-Semitism stem from?
What happens is you can name 90% of people in a book who are not Jewish and 5-10% who are. And instead of saying, well, you know, in every community, in every culture, in every income bracket, you're going to have the same range of people. You're going to have lovely people, you're going to have okay people, and you're going to have a few psychopaths and manipulators. The problem is, I can say that about Chinese manipulators, I can say it about American manipulators, British manipulators, French manipulators, as I do, but you name anyone who's Jewish and immediately you're an anti-Semite. No, I don't care if they're outer Mongolian. I care about what they're doing. And producing the evidence for that. That's what it's about. And this is a way of shutting down legitimate investigation. If I am exposing the Italian mafia, am I condemning all Italian people? Crazy.
Okay. Speaking of crazy, David, do you believe that the world is being manipulated by shape-shifting reptiles that are possibly Jews who control the world through Rothschild? Is that...
Well, I mean,
basically
you know, people would have to read my books for the detail about that. But let me say this: I'm saying
that's a yes?
That there are family bloodlines that were seeded all over the world, and the ancient cultures.
By whom?
The ancient cultures. Well, by a non-human force. This is where you get in the Bible, for instance, the sons of God are interbred with the daughters of men, which is a story that you find in cultures all over the world,
so
whether it's the African culture or whatever.
People all over the world a long time ago, and they are resulting in being human forms, and they are lizards. You've been watching way too much V in the 80s.
You've not been doing enough research into the background. That's the problem. But the point is that I'm saying that these bloodlines were seeded everywhere in every culture. So where's this? Their Jews
What do they
come
take
from?
their face off when they go to bed, or what?
Sorry, I thought I was going to have an intelligent conversation here. Clearly not.
David,
are we going to have an intelligent conversation or what?
David,
What do you think?
I don't agree with a lot of what you said. I don't agree with your stance on immunisation. Let me finish. Let me finish for 1 second. I don't agree with your thoughts on climate change or reptilian people.
What I'm saying.
But what I do agree with is that you should actually be able to speak, because we live in a democracy, and I am a big supporter of free speech. And I think what happens when the government then stops people like you coming to the country to talk and to have their say, it actually emboldens people who support you, and then they jump on the bandwagon that the government is trying to shut down free speech, and there is a conspiracy theory to shut down free speech. What do you think about our government letting in people like convicted rapist Mike Tyson, wife basher Charlie Sheen? I mean, you've been stopped from entering the country because of your views. What do you think about people who are let in who've actually committed crimes?
That's up to people to decide if they think they are going to be a danger to society. I mean, if you're going to have a serial killer come into the country, then obviously you have to say, hold on a minute, do we want this person here? But what we're talking about in my case is not violence. I'm the most non-violent person you could ever meet. It's about information. It's about opinion. And you are quite right in what you've just said. Once you start having governments dictate what people can see and not see, you are in a tyranny. You're controlling the narrative. And surely in any free, open, mature society, people have access to all information available, and then they are free to make their opinion and their perceptions based on that information. Once you start skewing the information and saying you can hear this but you can't hear that, then that's how tyrannies work, and that's why Nazis burned the books and Nazis shut down public meetings, and the Stalinists did the same. That's what tyrannies do. And the fact that it's now happening in Australia, as it's happening in other countries, including my own, shows you that we're going down a very dark, dangerous Orwellian road, which I know from the last 24 hours, a lot of Australians of all walks of life are very, very concerned about the way this is going.
I think there's certainly an argument for free speech, David. I must confess I had not heard of you until I found out that you'd been banned. But I still feel like we haven't actually established the core reason, which is why Josh Burns and members of the Jewish community petitioned the minister to ban you. Do you actually believe that between 6 and 12 million Jews were killed by the Nazis and the Germans in World War II?
Between 6 and 12 million?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it could have been 5.5 million, it could have been 6 million, it could have been 6.5
millions. Do you
million.
believe millions of Jews were killed by the Nazis?
A vast number of people died, quite clearly, in concentration camps run by Nazis, which
not just concentration camps, they were rounded up and shot like animals,
which shut down the ability to expose what they were doing. If the Nazis had not shut down opposition, how much of what was going on in Nazi Germany would people have known earlier? And maybe a lot of that would not have happened. This is what happens when you shut down the free flow of information.
David,
it should not be happening in democracies.
David, you just keep tiptoeing around what should be an easy and direct question, as Joe has asked. Do you believe millions of Jewish people were rounded up, shot, gassed during the war? Yes or no? Millions, yes.
Did millions of people die in the concentration camps? Yes.
Okay, and do you know who the reptilians are? Do you actually know, in today's society, who the reptiles are, who were seeded long ago and it's come through the generations? Do you know their names?
People would have to read my books for the detail.
Okay,
and the
I'll get your
background.
book today and I'll have a crack at it. But can you just give me one?
You can't do this in sound bites.
Yeah, but can you...
I know some of them.
Well, I'm asking you, do you know who they are? Are they in positions of high rank?
Yes, they are. They're in positions of power, absolutely.
Are they Jewish people who work for the Rothschild organisation?
Some of them are. Most of them aren't. So again, you know, when you're talking about a range of people from a range of backgrounds, why suddenly, because you mention someone who's Jewish, is that kind of, oh no, you're anti-Semitic? Why aren't I anti-Chinese and anti-American and anti-British and anti-French when I name people from those countries? It's crazy. And so this is what happens when you...
Yeah, we have heard, cutting down the
situation
debate, yeah, you've said that about 7 or 8 times. Got it, David? I got to say, I'm with Sarah. I believe if people are crazy enough to pay money to hear you speak, you should be allowed to. That is called free speech.
Well, people are crazy enough to listen to this programme every morning. How crazy can you get?
Yay! Woo, woo, woo!
Indeed. David Icke, thanks for joining us.
Hey, David, you got a national audience. Don't complain.
Well, there you go. We'll see what goes from here.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks very much, David.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
All righty.
What?
You're wearing reptile pants today. Do you know that? You're wearing snakeskin pants.
Do you remember
We
that
found
series
the half
in the
reptilian.
80s? Yeah. Better believe it, people.
I do remember the series V.
The V series, Channel 10 ran it in the 80s. And this is where, oh, come on, help me, please.
I don't remember, but
they were visitors and they were aliens living among us.
And they took over the world and became human and ran the world. And at night, they'd rip off their face and go to bed as a
wasn't
as a reptile.
Coneheads.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, so long story short, turns out that show was a documentary.
Israel will have an absolute enormous amount on Trump. He was so bankrupt, in for $1 billion. Wilbur Ross came in, still working for the Rothschilds at the time, organized 72 banks to bail out Trump. Trump is who Trump is because of that bailout. Sheldon Adelson and Miriam Adelson has given him $100 million for this election campaign. The strings of this, Donny, moved the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Done. The Golan Heights of Syria becoming Israeli territory. Done. There's a location in the Golan Heights now called Trump Heights in appreciation. Part of that agreement, this has been reported in the Jewish press, Trump at some point in this presidency will sanction the Israeli annexation of the West Bank. They've got most of it now anyway. And so you've got the blackmail, you've got the fact that he's beholden to them because they saved his backside, and you put that lot together and it's no surprise, is it, that he does whatever Israel tells him. The deep state wasn't vanquished when Trump came to power. He just changed his personnel.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years, not immigrants, but extraterrestrials. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Well, the good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives. Now, this former head of a branch of Israel's defense ministry is 87. He was very well respected, at least until now. And he said all this in an interview with an Israeli newspaper in Hebrew, but it's really taken off after parts of it were published in English by the Jerusalem Post today. He says he's come forward now in the hope that his news will be accepted as true. He notes that if he'd made these claims 5 years ago, he would have been hospitalized, but now he says, "I've got nothing to lose." Well, so far, President Trump has not tweeted about this, though remember a year ago, he did set up the Space Force as the fifth branch of the US Armed Forces. Well, we did ask the White House, the Department of Defense and Israeli officials to comment. So far, they have not responded to the NBC News request, and I wonder if they ever will.
The Jews have been persecuted across the earth for good reason, Cal. You're a race of beady-eyed thieves who always want... This is serious, you f***ing asshole! I'm being serious, Cal! Hello?
Kyle, we have to let people be allowed to finish during interventions.
But he's just using his time on television to rant about...
Kyle, please! It is not your turn.
You are a race of beady-eyed thieves, Kyle, who throughout the millennia have squirmed and worked your way into the dark cubbyholes of society. Where exactly did the Jews first get their power, and how are they able to manipulate our minds today? Oh my God! If, in fact, the Jews truly are shapeshifters, and I believe I've presented enough evidence here to prove that they are, then we must unite as a species to fight them and stop their plan of global domination and the control of our freedom.